Recording in progress.
Yo, what's good? What's good? I'm your boy Trey Fraser. I got my brother Maestro Styles here with me today.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to another edition of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. We got a special shout out to all of our Facebook Live viewers, Twitter Live viewers, and YouTube Live viewers. So continue to follow us on those platforms as we are streaming live on those right now. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. We're back, man. It's been, what, 3 weeks since we've been gone?
Shit, yeah. I guess it has.
It's been a while. I tried to actually get going last week, but, some stuff happened, and I was just too tired from the trip, so I had to take another week, bruh. But
yeah,
I'm back.
Little jet lag.
Yeah,
car
lag, van lag for certain.
Right.
But yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm sure you are as well. I actually had a chance to check out your, what was it? I guess I saw it on Facebook or Instagram, one of the two. And I see my man's by the poolside with his feet up with a book, and I'm like, yo, this man looked like he in the islands or something. Like, okay,
no, just on M Street.
Okay,
No, just on M Street.
Okay,
yeah, but yeah,
that's what's up.
I got a chance to finish the book, man. So the kids played in the pool for hours, and I got bit up that entire day, but I did finish the book. So,
okay.
yeah.
That's what's up. No doubt. Yeah, man. It was a lot of rest to say, and a lot of work too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I learned the difference between a trip and a vacation. A vacation is when you actually go and you don't do nothing. A trip is you going someplace, but yet you still working. So,
Right.
So the Canada trip was kind of both vacation and a trip. This past weekend, shout out to my niece. She turned 1 over the weekend. That was a trip as well. A lot of work there. But glad to be back, doing this podcast with you, brother.
And it's a lot to get into.
It's a lot. It's certainly a lot to get into. I'll kind of get to my little, TV binge probably toward the end of the program. I've been checking out a couple of documentaries, some stuff I'm actually looking forward to watching on TV. I want to know what you think about that. But let's start with paying homage to one of the greats, pioneers in the game of basketball, and that would be Bill Russell, who passed away, I think it was Sunday morning at the age of 88. Got the news while I was in New York, and I said to myself, yeah, we definitely got to open with this one and pay respect. So,
Yeah.
Maestro, and I know, we're too young to actually watch him, play, live. How will you remember Bill Russell as you know him?
As I know him, is the dude got 14 chips, man, and it's funny. The first thing I thought about when I saw it was, I had a little Twitter conversation with somebody last week. And we was talking to. I don't remember. I don't necessarily remember the course of the conversation. It was a KD conversation. That's what it was. But when we got into talking about who's the best and who's the best player and who and all that whole conversation, kind of briefly, and it's Bill Russell, even in our generation. Anybody who wins that many titles, you should have him in that kind of a consideration.
Yeah.
When he was the best player on the team for that team that won that many championships, he should be. He should be in consideration. But I mean, I get it. Generations pass, and I get why. But I think that when, like for instance, Tom Brady, I think is going to go down as the greatest quarterback to ever live, at least while I'm living, while we're living.
Yeah.
and I mean, the aside from his actual talent, but also, I mean, the dude got 7 rings. Name another quarterback, starting quarterback, that's doing what he do, that's doing what he do or what he's
Right.
done. So it's like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's kind of so we can see that, and I guess it's easier for us to see because we watched him play from the beginning.
Yep.
But I think anybody who's won 14 championships, you kind of got to put him in that conversation. And I think how I remember him is going to kind of be. I guess the answer is that I need to build my memories of somebody who's accomplished that type of a thing. So I think I'm going to challenge myself to kind of look up his old highlights and actually see how dominant he was in his time, because quite frankly, all I have to go off of is the fact that he's won 14 titles, and that's enough for me to
Mm-hmm.
put him in high regard. But I think I owe it to him as a legend in the sport to be more in depth about his legacy.
Yeah, when you have an MVP, Finals MVP trophy sort of named after you, then you gotta be
You would disagree.
considered one of the greats in the sport. Going back to the 13, 14 rings, even though it was a different time, there were less teams in the league was just starting to, get its feet wet and all that, you still gotta consider the fact that, hey, he got 13 rings and however many teams was in the league at that time. I think it was like 13, 14
Mm-hmm.
teams that were, competing for a championship. How I will remember Bill Russell, and there's a lot of I guess nostalgia is the wrong word, but there's a lot of references to what he went through as a player playing in the city of Boston, which you and I both know it's considered to be a racist city and still is to
Mm-hmm.
this day. Him coming up on that team back in those days, before the civil rights movement, and he was a big part of that, by the way. Referencing that picture, that infamous picture with him, Jim Brown, Kareem, Muhammad Ali, referencing that photo, Bill Russell was a big part of that. Just some of the things that he went through as a player, not being able to use the same restrooms as white
Mm-hmm.
players, not being able to, whenever they would go from city to city, not being able to eat at the same restaurants as the white players. I even heard Dr. Umar Johnson mention something about him kind of boycotting some games because of the fact that he wasn't able to do those things with his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, he kind of got his way in a sense, yet he still was able to continue with his career. And so when I think about Bill Russell, I'm gonna think more about his involvement in the civil rights movement in involving just sports, in general, and how the country had kind of transitioned, even though we still in this day have to live with racism to this day. Back then was totally a totally different story, and there were some improvements in regard to that. Players were able to eat at the same restaurants, use the same bathrooms, etc., etc. Bill Russell was a huge part of that change when it came to the NBA and sports beyond. So when I think about Bill Russell, I'll think about that. I will also think about this moment, which I will use as the promo for this podcast episode, where he gave the middle finger to Charles Barkley at, if I'm not mistaken, it was on TNT. I forget the program. It might have been in one of those like NBA award shows or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But him giving the finger to Charles Barkley was certainly a moment for me. In this day and age, and then him telling the likes of Dikembe Mutombo, Dr. J, and a few other old school players that he'd whoop their ass in, 1-on-1. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, those are some moments, just more recent moments anyway, that I'll remember of Bill Russell. And shout out to the family, to the Russell family. May he rest in peace, and
Yes, for sure.
he will be remembered. I mean, I think it's appropriate that when you do these Mount Rushmore lists when it comes to the NBA, he's got to be a lock. I mean, I know that. I mean, you can shuffle names around. You could put LeBron, Magic, Jordan, Kareem. I mean, you could shuffle some of those names.
All right, you said it. You said it. So now we got to challenge it. And let me and before I get into it, let me just say rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers to the family and for certain a legend in the NBA.
Yeah.
How do you say he's a lock in that Mount Rushmore?
How do you say he's a lock?
And
the rings. The rings.
Okay, so who you take? Who's your Mount Rushmore then?
I'm gonna go Jordan. I'm gonna go Bill Russell. I'm gonna go Kareem. In addition to Kareem, all-time leading scorer. And boy, this is tough because if I'm going by rings, I mean you could say Tim Duncan because he's got 5. Kobe's got 5. I mean LeBron's got 4. I mean, so LeBron, so if I'm going by rings, LeBron would be off this list, but LeBron almost does everything. You know what I mean? So I'll say for right now, Jordan, LeBron, Bill Russell, Kareem for right now.
So Magic's off the list. I'm just saying. Because I feel like you're being a prisoner of the moment, and I'm going to allow if you're saying Maestro, I'm a prisoner of the moment. Because Bill Russell just
if we're basing it off of rings,
I'm not basing it off anything. I'm saying what's your Mount Rushmore?
Sure, but I'm telling you my Mount Rushmore based off of the championship. So I gotta go those 4 guys, and unfortunately Magic right now is off my list right now. So so to your counter argument, are you saying that Magic is a lock in that Mount Rushmore?
I'm saying I'm not my Mount. I would if you're doing a rings Mount Rushmore. See that's the thing. I could never do a rings Mount Rushmore. My Mount Rushmore is who are the best players to ever live. But if you're asking me for the sake, because that's what you said, based on rings, you did say that, so I'm gonna respect what you said. Mount Rushmore based on rings. Bill Russell is a lock if you're basing it on rings. If the Mount Rushmore is a based on rings Mount Rushmore, then I gotta say he's there. But how many Ori got?
Robert Horry, he got what 6, 7?
I mean, he a role player, but he was a role player.
He was a role player. Not as impactful as those guys were.
Sure.
Never the best player on any of those teams he was on.
Was he ever in the Rockets days? Was the early Rockets days? Was he ever? Nope, he was never 3 neither.
He was never the
4th. Yeah,
he was never the best player on any of those teams.
I know. I'm not ever saying he was the best.
Okay.
I'm saying could he had ever been like the 3rd best? Because if he was ever like the 3rd best with 6, 7 rings, that might be a conversation.
On those Rocket teams, you're talking Drexler, Hakeem, and then you want to go Vernon Maxwell or Kenny Smith as the 3. I don't think Corey was ever even the 3rd option.
Okay. I was just throwing shit on the wall, seeing if it stick.
Definitely not on the Spurs. Definitely not on the Spurs.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I said Rockets only.
Yep.
Bill Russell, Jordan. I'm not disrespecting Magic.
I hear you.
And Kobe.
I hear you, man. I mean, that's why this conversation is so interesting, because there's about maybe 8 guys that can go on this Mount Rushmore list. Like, forget the rings, forget the the number of years or accomplishment.
Hold on. You can't say forget the rings.
No. I'm saying if anybody's doing a Mount Rushmore list of their own, I think there's about 8 or 9 guys that you could legitimately say, hey, they the Mount Rushmore of the NBA.
But I think it's important because we said based on rings.
Yeah.
Because we're speaking about Bill Russell. Mount Rushmore. This conversation I think needs to be specific. What? So
yeah.
What are the
but again, my list was based on rings.
Right. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, and my point was, and I guess just to clarify, my point is that if someone else came up with a list that didn't include Bill Russell or that didn't include Magic or LeBron, I'm not mad. I'm not really upset because there's some other guys that deserve
based on rings,
to
you wouldn't be mad?
Not based on rings. Not based on rings. Again, I'm only basing my list off of rings. But if someone else is basing their list off of another criteria and they list those names and they leave off, 3 or 4 names that, you could argue belong there, I'm not going to be upset at it. Like, you mentioned Robert Horry. Like, if someone put Robert Horry in the Mount Rushmore of the NBA, I'd be highly upset.
Okay. All right. Well, I get what you're saying. You trying to take it off the ring thing, but you said Bill Russell was a lock on the Mount Rushmore. That's a big statement. That's why I stopped you. Like, oh, okay, that's if that's
big statement.
Then you got
based on rings. But, yes.
Okay. I take you basing it on ring, but it's not a big statement if you basing it on rings. That's not a big statement. So if your Mount Rushmore, your rings, Mount Rushmore, you got Bill Russell on it.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
If you're talking about the best basketball players to ever win the game, to ever play the game, I'm sorry, it's Bill Russell on your Mount Rushmore. No,
I'd have
don't
to.
worry.
I'd have to read.
No.
No, don't answer for me. Don't answer for me.
To ever play the game.
To ever play the game.
Ever play the game? Yes. Bill Russell on your Mount Rushmore.
To ever play the game? Probably not. I mean, because what's the criteria now?
What do you have to go up? No, the best player to play the game. That's the criteria.
The best player to play the game.
In opinion, the Mount Rushmore of best players to ever play in the NBA. Bill Russell does not meet your criteria. Does not make that list
to ever play the game. I mean, dig a little deeper into the best player to ever play the game. Like, does he do everything? Like, is he on top 3 lists in terms of categories?
Does he have to be for him to be the best player to play the game?
No, he doesn't have to be. But that's why I'm asking you.
What does that matter?
That's why I'm asking. Break that down a little bit further, because
I think you're making it harder than it got to be. The best players in your mind, who are the best players in your mind to ever play the game? It don't have to be based on anything. It's just an opinion, to be honest.
Right.
You're saying Bill Russell is not there because he's not the best player. He's not one of the best to ever do it. That's what you said. Because he doesn't make that Mount Rushmore for you. So cool, but who are your best 4
to ever play based off of that?
Based just that you've ever seen play the game. It don't even got to be who you've seen.
Right.
If you believe Will Chamberlain is the best to play the game, without you, I mean, I would kind of not believe you because you ain't never really watched him play. But if that's your list, that's your list.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's easy for me to say Bill Russell is on my Mount Rushmore of rings. Because that's easy to see. 14 rings, and he was the best player there.
Okay, so I got you. So best to ever play. So in my mind, that means for me, in my mind, that means I'd have to see him play. I think you made a reference to that. I think that makes sense. That you had to have seen him. You have to have seen him. In that case, LeBron, Magic, saw a little bit of Kareem toward the end. Saw Magic toward the end. I think it would be those 4 guys. Actually, I take that back. Give me LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, and I'll go Magic. LeBron, Jordan,
Say it one
Kobe.
more time.
LeBron, Jordan,
LeBron,
Kobe,
Jordan.
Magic.
Okay.
If we're basing it off of players that I've seen play, the best to ever play to me means you had to have seen them play for a certain
Right.
chunk of their
Right.
career. I'll go those four guys.
I want to put Shaq in there, but I'll side with you on that. I'll side with you on that.
Okay, yeah, and if you put Shaq in there, I don't know
who I take out for him though. I don't know who I take out.
Sure,
for him.
that in addition to, I don't know that I can really argue that because Shaq was at one point the most dominant big in the league, so I can't argue that. If someone said, hey, Tim Duncan, I mean, he wasn't flashy, but that man was the best to ever do it.
Right.
I got no argument. It's just that, like you said, it would be hard to take off the four that you listed. That would be the difficult thing.
While we on the subject, while we on best, so the conversation has been coming up a lot in podcast circles that I've been listening to. So I'll ask you since we've been away.
Yep.
LeBron has to average 16 points a game this year.
Yep.
And he will be the highest scorer in the NBA,
the history of the
all
league.
time,
Mm-hmm.
all in the history of the league, yes, all time.
Yeah.
If he does that, he will be top 10 in every statistical category in every major statistical category. Let me say in the NBA history ever.
Yep.
Is that enough for you to consider him better than Jordan?
Yes.
5 chips and 5 rings.
Well, that I guess he would have to win one this coming year if you're counting, because he's got only 4.
I'm sorry, 4. I'm sorry, 4. I'm sorry.
Okay.
4.
Okay.
And I'm definitely I don't got him winning this year, so I meant 4. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, I got you. If he's top 10 in all those things and he's done it longer than Jordan, I think he's a better passer than Jordan, a better finisher at the rim than Jordan, then yes, I would consider LeBron to be better than Jordan when it's all said and done, if he catches Kareem for the top spot in the points per game all time, plus the top...
No.
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm saying 16. He has to average 16 points this year.
Yeah.
If he averages 16 points this year, he's going to pass Kareem.
Right. He plays all 82
let's be
games.
clear.
He plays all 82 games. Is that the consideration?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it has to be all 82 games, but I would assume so.
Okay.
And all. Let me just stop all the. He's going to pass Kareem this year. There's nothing per injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pass Kareem this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the all-time leading scorer this year.
Mm-hmm.
When he passes that, when he meets that accomplishment, meets that feat,
Yeah.
in your eyes, is he going to be better than Jordan?
In my eye, if just to pass the all points.
No, all these things. No, not just that. All these things that were included, but.
Got you. That he's already eclipsed is what you're saying. He already eclipsed the other things.
Right now, he is top 10 in every major statistical category. History. He's already there right now. He's already there in scoring. He's just not number 1 in scoring.
Okay.
So he's number 1. In all major statistics. I'm sorry, not number 1. Top 10.
Top 10.
In all major categories.
Assists.
All major categories.
Rebounds. Yeah.
All that in top 10 right now.
Okay.
When he is number 1 in points, with him being top 10 in everything else, is he officially better than Jordan?
Okay, so I take back what I said in the beginning of this conversation. So if he just passes Kareem, I don't think that moves the needle to me saying that he's the greatest or he's, better than Jordan. I think already, for me, I think he's that already.
Already better than Jordan right now in your eyes?
In my eyes, he's already better than Jordan. Given the things I've said, better passer, better finisher at the rim. If the one knock that you got on him, and maybe there's 2 knocks on him when it comes to the Jordan LeBron comparison, is he's not undefeated in the finals. Granted, he's been to more finals than Jordan, but he's not undefeated in the finals. He's got 2 less rings than Jordan. and he's never been known to be that killer, like to have that killer instinct. Like if those are the knocks, if those are the knocks on LeBron, it's those two things.
I don't know that I disagree with the killer instinct things. I think when Dwayne Wade said, "Here, these the keys," he took over. So
That I
don't
agree with.
I don't yeah. So I don't think he's not a killer. I don't think he's um. I guess he's a little cooler about his kills. I guess I don't know. Like you know what I'm saying. Like
Right.
I think for me, why the killer conversation is a thing for LeBron is because we all believe at 6'8", 250 pounds, he should be dunking on everybody like Ja Morant does type
Right.
of thing, or like Giannis does type of thing, and he doesn't necessarily do that.
Right.
He's more of a like we had this conversation all the time. I mean, I know earlier I like to have compared him to Scotty, but now as he's like his game is matured, I like to compare him more to Magic.
Yeah, I've always compared him to
he,
Magic. More than anybody,
yeah.
I've always compared him to
earlier,
Magic.
early in his career, because I didn't feel like he was like taking over, like he needed somebody.
Yeah.
So that's why he was more Scotty to me.
Right.
And now, since when Dwayne Wade said, "Hey, it's your town,"
Yep.
and he did what he did, and now he's more like his game kind of mature more towards like a Magic role to me.
Right. Right. Or how about him skull dragging two Cleveland teams to the finals? Granted, they didn't win
He
it
was already
those
Magic
years.
to me by then.
I know, but I'm just talking
You talking
about
about the second time? You talking about the second stint or the first stint?
I'm talking about both stints. The first stint in '07 when he had Eric Snow, Boobie Gibson, and Varejao. I mean, but he took that team to the finals.
Yeah, no shade. No shade. No, that's not shade.
And the round before that against Detroit when he went like for 25 in the fourth, like 25 points straight. Like that, like he like skull dragged that Cavs team to the finals. Yeah. The other year I'm talking about was when the last year in Cleveland, the last year in the second stint in Cleveland, where he went up against Boston in the conference finals in the game 7, and I think they held the Celtics to like 70 something points or something like that. Like that team wasn't the greatest Cavs team that year. If I remember correctly, they struggled to beat Indiana the first round in that playoffs, and then they went on. They swept the Raptors. They got the Raptors up out of there quick, and then they struggled to beat Boston in the 7-game series. Like those are the two teams to me. When you look at LeBron and you kind of decipher, okay, is he one of the, well, not that if he's one of the greats, or we're talking about him versus Jordan.
Right.
Jordan, for his greatness, ain't never had to skull drag a team like that to the NBA Finals. He had Pippen, he had Rodman, he had, Steve Kerr, John Paxton, Bill Cartwright, and when those guys.
First of all, we're not gonna sit here and pretend like Paxton and Kerr and Cartwright were like quality. They weren't trash, but
the first three names that I listed there: Rodman Pippen
on the back end.
Yep.
Let's make sure we notice that. So that's Rodman on the back end, but on the first three, it was him and Pippen,
right? And when Pippen arrived there, that's when they started winning. And Pippen, for all the stuff he's talked, lately, Pippen is one of the better players in the league. He's on the top 75, NBA players for a reason. When Jordan left, Pippen carried that Bulls team further than anybody I think expected that year. So Jordan has never had to, I think, accomplish what LeBron had to accomplish just in terms of getting a team to the finals. When you're the best player on a team and your second best player is Boobie Gibson, or your second best player is J.R. Smith, or Dellavedova, whoever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
I mean, I don't know. But then, see, See, that's tough. That's a hard conversation. I don't see when Jordan didn't have help, like top tier help,
Right.
in the, he was going against Larry Bird and the Pistons
And
though.
Isaiah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that like, did LeBron when LeBron, that '07 LeBron team, that Cavs team, the first stint,
Yep.
who did he? What team would you consider? There's no team you would consider to be on that Larry Bird '80s Celtics or them bad boy Pistons. None of those teams, none of them Eastern Conference teams was on that level.
In the Eastern Conference, well, I guess you can compare the bad boy Pistons of the late '80s to the newly gentrified bad boy Pistons of '04. I mean, because at that point,
call them the bad boys.
Because at that point they had already won a chip. They had beaten Shaq and Kobe already at that point.
Yeah, but they weren't the bad boys. And with respect to that team, that '04, I guess the '04, like '07, '08 team, whatever. No, I'm saying, but how long their stint ran when they were actually good.
Gotcha. Yep.
With respect to that team,
they made conference finals 6 years in a row.
Sure,
I think.
but they weren't the '80s Pistons though. I mean, like, they just
okay.
Like,
I'll accept that, but
they couldn't shine their shoes.
But
my point is that LeBron's competition when he didn't have help was not at the caliber of Jordan's competition when he didn't have help.
Okay, so let's see. Early in LeBron's career, I think. And again, this is not to make comparisons to the '80s teams, but he ran into the Boston KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen team.
Yeah.
He ran into the Pistons. They were already champions at that point. Chauncey and Rip and Wallace and those guys, they were already champions at that point. That's about it. I think those are the two teams. Now I don't know how you feel about that Magic team with Dwight and what's his name? I don't know how you feel about that team, but they got LeBron up out of there.
Yeah, sure. I don't feel for those teams. If you're asking me, the reason why I'm saying that is because you said you said the comment you made was is that Jordan never had to take a team to the finals without a number two guy that was a legitimate number two.
Right.
My rebuttal to that comment is that LeBron never had the caliber of competition when he didn't have a number two that Jordan did. You know what I'm saying? Like, gotcha. Jordan playing against them Celtics in the '80s. He was damn near like games. He had to put up 60 and 50 and 60 points just to have a shot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Whereas, LeBron could corral because with all due respect, that Pistons team wasn't as good. The competition wasn't as stiff. Like, who's the star on that Pistons team? Absolutely nobody.
Right.
The star on that Celtics team, I mean, you could KG, Paul Pierce, whoever you want to do, but even Paul Pierce at his height, like, he was the man, but he wasn't the man. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
right.
He wasn't, like, he was always like, no disrespect, again, he was a second tier dude.
That's why they made the trade for KG and Ray.
Yeah. So LeBron never had that we in the history books.
Yeah.
When you talk about the best NBA teams ever, you talk about the '80s Celtics. You talk about the bad boy Pistons. If you and you talk about them as maybe top 10 teams ever to do it.
Right.
That '04, the Detroit Boston teams, '04, '08, they a little down the list.
Okay.
They a little down the list when you talk about top teams to ever do it.
Right. No, I got you. Nonetheless, I think those teams they had consistency. I'll say that about those teams.
Sure.
They had consistency, but I agree with you.
The Heat was consistent. They were a consistent team. The Pacers were a consistent team then. So I mean, they were certainly consistent teams. But LeBron's competition without help, it wasn't.
I got you.
Yeah.
Which leads me to this point too. So for me, I think Jordan's run to the finals was harder than LeBron's run to his finals. Now, when Jordan got there, I think the teams he faced out west, I mean, when you look at a team like Phoenix, who had, one guy and everybody else. Well, I not to, poo-poo on Kevin Johnson.
Was the man.
Yeah, not to poo-poo on him or anything like that. But
he was the man.
But, those West teams, it felt like the Bulls were the superior team to those teams they faced out west.
Okay,
now, when LeBron run to the finals, LeBron's run seemed like it was cakewalk to the finals. Now, when he got to the finals was where those kinds of teams, the Warriors, the Spurs, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are the teams that you would kind of put.
The West was running things back then.
That right. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. But those kinds of teams are going to be unforgettable teams 20 years from now. Like, we're going to talk about the Warriors in their run 20 years from now. We're going to talk about the Spurs in their run 20 years from now. LeBron had it tough when he got to that final stage.
But you're talking about when he actually got help, though. I'm only talking about when they didn't get help. So, like, the thing is that when Jordan didn't have help, he didn't make it to the finals.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He didn't make it to the finals. It wasn't until he got help that he actually got over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron did make it to the finals without help, but the road was easier. So yeah, if my argument is that if Jordan had to go down the same road LeBron had to go down with no help, Jordan would have been in the finals too. But he had to go see Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas type caliber players.
Right.
And with all due respect to Rip Hamilton and Paul George and
Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce, those they weren't the ilk of Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas, and it just wasn't the same competition.
I hear you.
The road to the
those players, Isaiah, Larry, those are like top, like you put in your top 10. You know what I mean? Like those are players you put in your top 10. Paul Pierce, you're not putting in your top 10.
Yeah, you're not putting him there. Paul George, you're not putting him there. Rip Hamilton,
right.
Chauncey Billups.
Right.
You're not putting him there.
I got you. I want to say what up to Mocha Bella in the Facebook live chat. Also, Chief Rocker Jersey Vern. Bill is the real GOAT, talking about Bill Russell. So appreciate everybody in the chat, man. This is a good conversation, bruh. This one caught me off guard, but glad we kind of talking right through this joint.
Yeah. That's all I had. It was just a conversation that had been really going on. Like, LeBron, is LeBron going to surpass Jordan and I guess to the younger generation, a lot of people already got LeBron over Jordan. A lot of people already have him there.
Yeah, right. Right.
But I think him being the all-time leading scorer does say something along with all the other stats.
So you think it moves the needle in a great way for him to be
definitely. Do.
I think that's where we kind of part ways a little bit. And I guess because for me, he's already there, but that's your opinion.
Right. But like you said, if you're already there, then you wouldn't need it to sway you. You
right
there. You already think LeBron is better than Jordan.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I got you. Can we get into some Deshaun Watson talk?
Absolutely.
Real quick. So just to kind of go back a few days, a 6-game suspension was handed down to Deshaun Watson.
You're appealing that, by the way.
Yeah. So earlier today, they decided they're going to appeal. The important thing in this is that Sue Robinson, who is a totally separate entity from the NFL, was the lead investigator on the Deshaun Watson stuff. And after going through, paperwork, talking to women, the victims, and all that stuff, she came with her conclusion that, some of the things that was done was, was egregious, but yet, based on the standards of the NFL, decided that 6 games was enough for him. So I think the NFL today is saying, hey, we don't think 6 games is enough. We're going to appeal, and we're going to see if we can get this to, I don't know.
A year is what they saw, is what it was reported to me.
A year? Okay. I mean,
they're trying to get them to get a year.
Knowing the NFL, they might just be like, look, do half the season, which is really only 2-3 more games. Knowing the NFL, but nothing surprises me.
Here's my question. Who handed down the ruling?
Sue Robinson.
C. Robinson handed down the ruling, or she did the investigation?
She did both.
Okay, Okay.
That's why the NFL is appealing.
Well, I didn't. Who is C. Robinson? What I'm getting at is who is C. Robinson with respect.
Sue Robinson. Sue Robinson was the woman that the NFL elected to take over the investigation of Deshaun Watson, and for them to make her judge, jury, and executioner to determine how many games to get suspended. So the NFL.
So she was.
Yes. So she was the one that did the investigation, reviewed all the reports, talked to the victims, went through all kinds of investigative stuff, and she was the one that handed down the 6-game suspension.
Okay, I got another question.
What you got?
And obviously, you just let me know where, how much you read. Why would the NFL give Sue Robinson that type of a power?
My belief is that because of Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, Ezekiel Elliott, and a few other names that the NFL has warranted suspensions for these players for their actions, and the outcry of those suspensions weren't good. Majority of the time wasn't good. They decided to take themselves out of it and say, hey, you know what? And to me, I think it's a bunch of bullshit in my opinion, because and I tweeted this out the other day, and I kind of said, look, Sue Robinson really is working for the NFL, really. So, and the ruling kind of told me everything, because how can you read, or how can you come to the conclusion that what Deshaun Watson allegedly did was egregious, in that it warranted enough for the suspensions to be more than 6 games, but yet the suspension is light. The punishment is light. You know what I'm saying? Okay. How can you come to that determination and say that? You know what I mean? So I think the NFL did that just to take the smoke off of them as an organization, as someone who on a historical level has said, hey, we're, judge, jury, executioner. They didn't want to play that role in this situation. So that's why they left it to this woman.
Yeah, they pussy. But then even more pussy than that, then why would they in turn appeal the ruling of the person they hired to make the ruling?
Because they want,
and I'm not asking you because I'm it's a rhetorical question in some respects.
And it's crazy because I have answers to these questions, or not that I have answers to the questions. It's just what I think.
You have thoughts.
It's just what I think. Yeah. I think they appealing because the smoke. Like, people don't like the fact that he just got 6 games. They don't like it. So they're gonna act. The NFL's gonna act like they're the good old boys and say, hey, we care about women. We care about having a good image and all this good stuff. They're gonna put this on as a front. And as I said earlier, it wouldn't surprise me if this went from 6 games to 8 or 9 games. And guess what? The outcry is still gonna be there. The majority of the time, it's still gonna be there. Most people that I've spoken to and I've seen on Twitter, they're thinking, all this stuff based on past aggressions by other players, that it's a 1-year suspension. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay, so what is the measuring stick? So what are the prior cases that they're comparing this to? In your opinion,
in my opinion, I think
this is
it's different.
In my opinion,
it's different.
This is kind of different.
It's different.
The closest thing you could really put this to is Ben Roethlisberger,
Mm-hmm.
and he got 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
He got 4 games
He got four. Yep.
for the rape situation. I don't remember what they said he did it or didn't, but he got 4 games for that. So, but um, the public opinion is that he raped that girl and only got suspended 4 games.
Right.
Now that's I think that's the closest comparison we can make, and this is still
And yet it's so far away. Yeah.
It's, right, exactly. And these are all and these are all just allegations. There is nobody. I don't think anybody. I don't think the court of public opinion is saying.
Yeah.
Even with all these allegations that Deshaun Watson raped anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard it.
I haven't either. I haven't either.
I've heard it, but I've heard. This is what I've heard. In majority, I've heard. Ain't no way he ain't done nothing wrong with all of these allegations. That's what I heard. Like he's kind of like NFL's Bill Cosby right now in this respect. Because nobody knows. Nobody is definitively.
There's no
saying,
evidence, right? There's no evidence. There's no video. You know what I mean, of him doing this.
But for that many people to come out, it's like, I mean, you had to do something,
right?
So, my next question is, are you cool with 6 games?
I am not cool with 6 games.
Okay.
And the reason I'm not cool with 6 games is because of the amount of victims that, came forward. Alleged victims, because of the amount of alleged victims here. I think you're right. The most comparable situation is Roethlisberger because it involves alleged rape. But that was 2 victims, if I remember, 3 victims.
I don't remember.
It was minimal.
It
was minimal.
Literally, that's not minimal if he raped them. But
no. I'm talking about the amount of victims.
The number.
I'm talking about the number of victims. When I say minimal, I'm talking about.
I would just caution you to be careful with your word choice right there. I get what you're saying. I understand.
No, that's why I'm clearing it up. I'm talking about the number of victims. I'm talking about the number of victims. If I remember, I thought it was 2 or 3. I can't remember.
Okay.
But the difference is still we're so far away with the Deshaun Watson thing because we're talking about 24, 25 victims here.
Yeah.
And not only is the amount of victims a big deal, but the fact that the league decided, you know what, we don't want no smoke, so we're gonna pull, kind of like what they doing with the Dan Snyder stuff with the Reds, with the football team, passing investigation to somebody else, or actually in that situation, Snyder hired a in-house investigator, which is really crazy, but that the league decided, hey, let's give it in the hands of Sue Robinson and let Sue Robinson make the call. And it was on par with what I thought the league would have gave Deshaun Watson if they did the investigation. 6 games. I thought if the league did it, it would have been 6 games. With Sue Robinson, the anticipation was that it would have been anywhere from half a year to a full year. Now we're at this point where the league is now appealing this and saying to themselves, okay, we gotta make this look good in some way. Like we gotta quiet the noise at with this situation. And I don't know which way this thing's gonna go. It wouldn't surprise me if he got a year. It wouldn't surprise me if they just tacked on an extra 2-3 games, bruh.
Okay. Look, I'm gonna make a decision, but I'll tell you I'm torn. 6 games, even if he didn't, sexually assault any of these women. If he didn't assault any of these women, well, no. Let me back. I'm gonna walk that back for a second.
Come on now. Word choice.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk that back. The optic of the idea that he allegedly sexually assaulted 20 women, 25 women, warrants at least 6 games. At least.
Yep.
I don't think we're ever going to find out if he actually did it or not. But I know that this has been going on for a year, over a year. I'm sorry, it's
Right.
been going on for over a year,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody has found anything incriminating enough to throw the book at him. As a matter of fact, in the same time that he's been under investigation, he signed the biggest quarterback contract at the time. He signed the biggest contract in the NFL at the time.
Yeah. Right.
So with that being said, it's kind of hard for me to say throw the book at him. Um, is in fact it's very difficult for me to throw the book at him.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I am also still of the idea that you don't get 25 accusations and you ain't did nothing.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly some activity, like some real
Something
like
happened.
shady
Something
activity
happened.
going
I'm
on.
still of that opinion.
Like the way he moving, like you move that way where you need that many
here's the
masseuses.
thing.
Yeah, something was going
Here's
on.
why I can't be in the judicial system, because how it works is that if you don't find evidence, then you're innocent. Period.
Yep.
If you can't find evidence that says you did it, then
Yep.
you're innocent.
Mm-hmm.
But I would, in my mental mind, I would love to think that if there has to be some type of addendum to that rule, when there's this number of people coming out saying he's done something sexually inappropriate to me, like that, everybody. I am of the ilk that everybody can't be lying. Now, of course, everybody could be. I'm just saying that in my mental mind, it ain't no way in hell that 25 women are lying about how you handle things at a massage parlor.
You saying what I
whenever you get
said?
massages.
You saying what I said a month ago? Like I don't
I
believe.
mean, we've been saying this since it happened.
I don't believe all of them are lying. I also don't believe all of them are telling the truth. I believe some of them are telling the truth, and I believe some of them are, not so much telling the truth.
So let's just play the what if game,
Yep.
and forgive me if this is insensitive to any women listening, because I don't know who's lying, I don't know who's telling the truth, ain't my business, and it ain't my job to decipher. We just here speculating.
Right.
If out of 25, 4 women, it can be proved that 4 women were no, let's go lower. One woman was treated sexually inappropriate by Deshaun Watson. Is 6 games an appropriate punishment?
If one was found,
yes, just one.
If
out
one,
of the 25,
if,
one was found.
If one was found, I will say yes, and here's why I say yes. One thing we have to keep remembering here is that when the NFL investigates these kinds of things, players get punishments, but the players aren't necessarily found guilty nor innocent or whatever. We have to be reminded that it's the NFL code of conduct policy, which to me means if you bring the league any kind of negativity with your actions, meaning PR, this story being in the news cycle every day, bringing the league, not so good publicity,
messing up capital.
Right, exactly. Backlash from the fan base, all those things are, I think, measured under that code of conduct policy. So we have to remember that it's not the NFL figuring out whether you were found guilty of doing what you were alleged you're doing or not. It's about how much negativity is your story and your actions bringing towards our brand. So I think in this case, if one person, if Deshaun was found to have raped one of the victims, then I think
let's not say rape because the allegation isn't rape; it's sexual misconduct.
Sexual misconduct. Got you.
Yeah,
sexual misconduct. If that's found to be true from one of the victims, then I think 6 is an appropriate number of games to suspend him.
Sheesh. I disagree, but I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mean, if I'm being, I think because like I said I'm going to make a decision. But listening to you talk, I was able to make a decision.
Can I bring something up? I don't mean to cut you. Can I
Yeah,
bring another
sure,
thing up
please,
too? Because
please,
I
absolutely.
think this other example keeps getting brought up too, and it happened recently. Calvin Ridley was suspended for 1 full season without pay for gambling on one. Let me repeat it, on one Falcons football game
And you still stand by
for
and you
placing a
still,
parlay. I don't stand. Well, I when it happened, I didn't agree that he should have been suspended a full year.
okay.
But if you're basing it off of, okay, if the NFL deems that you were found guilty of this, and and Calvin Ridley was found guilty of putting a parlay on a game,
Yep.
then they got 1 full year. So if that's the criteria, that hey, you just so happen to find him guilty on this one incident, and we don't find Deshaun to be guilty on any of the stuff, then that's why the reduction of games suspended is less for Deshaun than it is for Calvin Ridley, even though I, didn't agree with the Calvin Ridley suspension when it first happened.
Okay. I think if the precedent was set a year for Calvin Ridley for gambling, and by the way, I don't think this compares, but I saw the comparison, so I'll address it because it's been addressed in social media. If that's the case, then 25 allegations should get him a year at least. Allegations should get Deshaun Watson a year at least.
Allegations? Okay.
Out of 20, and if one out of that 25 were found to be true of misconduct, then it should be more than a year.
I agree with you that
Frank.
25 allegations should get him more, but I wouldn't base it off of the Calvin Ridley suspension. I would base it off of the Ben Roethlisberger allegation.
Well, I wouldn't base it off of anybody because I'm not comparing. I was more so using it as a reference. Like I said, neither one of those compare at all. They don't compare.
They don't compare.
But just as a point of reference,
Yep.
if 25 women came out and alleged that you treated them inappropriately, sexually inappropriate. If he was I'm going all over the place. If he was sexually inappropriate with 25 women allegedly, and the marker for punishment is how do you make my company look, meaning the NFL,
right?
He got to sit for a year. Now, me personally, I would love to get to the bottom of it before I delve out punishment. I want to know, out of those 25, how many women were treated, were proven in the court of law to have been treated inappropriately. I want to know out of that number, because now when it's ruled by court of law, I won't say fact, but now when it's ruled by court of law that, two, I'm just saying a random number, not for any, point proving purposes, but if 2 women was in the court of law, they ruled that he treated 2 women inappropriately, he got to sit for at least a year. So
here's the other thing that I don't think it's talked about enough with this case. So I heard, and this is through Twitter and other people that been covering the story, that only 12 women have been spoken to by NFL representation.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if they couldn't speak to the other 12 because of NDAs, or they were too scared to talk, or I don't know what the reasons were for that, or they didn't want to. I don't know that to be the case, but there's a lot of complaints out there that, hey, the league should have been speaking to just about every victim in this just to get a full gauge
can't make victims,
of.
You can't make
Of course, I agree. Agreed 100%. I'm curious if the other 12 or 13, what those situations were. I'm curious because there's a history of the league not doing enough to get the full investigation, i.e. Ray Rice. Like, you can't tell me that the NFL couldn't get access to the video of Ray Rice. I still believe that to this day. There's no way that TMZ can pay that much money to acquire a video when the NFL couldn't do that. So but that's just me. Based on the history of the league, they don't complete investigations enough for me. So I'm curious. I'll just leave it at that. I'm just curious. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I'll close it with this. I'll close it and just say that I'm not going to challenge how. I don't know how thorough or unthorough the investigations were. I don't know. I know that if, let's say the 12, if out of 12, just one, I only need one. If it could be proven in the court of law or deduced in the court of law that he was sexually inappropriate to one woman, he should get a year. And to add to that, in hindsight, I don't remember how Ben Roethlisberger's thing panned out, but I would have to assume that he ain't faced no criminal charges, so I would have to assume he came out innocent.
And those cases were still alleged, like even in the NFL's investigation.
Well, he went to court for that, right? But he went to court for that.
He went to actual court. He didn't go to civil court. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't face any criminal charges. He came out and he was innocent. If memory serves me correct.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think the difference in cases is that there was a court hearing and it was deduced that he didn't do that.
Okay, so kind of like Ben Roethlisberger was in front of a grand jury and the grand jury decided to not indict him.
If I remember correctly, that's what happened.
Okay, so that's what happened to Deshaun Watson too. He was in front of the case was brought in front of a grand jury. The grand jury saw evidence. The grand jury elected that it wasn't enough and no criminal charges were brought against Deshaun Watson.
Okay. Thank you for that. 6 games is good then.
Okay.
6 games is good then.
Okay.
6 games is good then. I didn't have that much information. Sorry, my week's been a little hectic.
Okay. All right. As everybody's is. Yeah. I think we kind of on the same page here. Let's just see what happens. You know, they appeal today. We'll see how long this takes. We'll see what happens, what the NFL decides. They're gonna do, whether this upheld, if this holds the 6, or if he gets more games.
They need to leave him alone. No, I think they should leave him alone. I get it. They trying to appeal. They're trying to pander to the female demographic who may be displeased with it.
They are.
I get that's what they're doing.
They are.
They should leave him alone on this one. They should just leave him alone.
They are. The other interesting thing about this, and what up, Vince Wright, in a Facebook live chat. So there's been complaints about the NFL schedule of the Cleveland Browns schedule, and I don't know what those first 6 games are particularly, but someone said that
you get them when y'all come back week 7. He gonna bust your ass.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Like we gonna
bust your ass when they come back.
We gonna bust their ass when he come out. That man ain't been playing football in about what, 2 years?
He gonna bust your ass.
Gonna bust his ass. Look, people have been saying that the Browns' first 6 games of the schedule is the easiest first 6 of all the teams in the league. I don't know that to be a fact. I don't know what games is on there. I know they open up with the Panthers week 1 because that's supposed to be the Baker revenge game or whatever. But after that, I don't know who else is on that schedule early for Cleveland. But someone was trying to make a case that this was sort of the conspiracy theory that you suspend him for the easier games in the season, and then, he comes back against tougher competition, and then you're going to need Deshaun Watson.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm just telling you what niggas was saying out in the streets, man.
Tell them niggas shut up. So the NFL was like, "Oh, we gonna sit them down for 6 games. By the way, let's make it easy for the Browns."
In addition to that, the schedule makers somehow, according to people, this was the easiest 6-game stretch for Cleveland of all the teams. Somehow,
I'm just saying that had nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. People should shut up.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
People should shut up. People should shut up.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm good for a good conspiracy theory every once in a while, but this one just kind of, it kind of takes the cake for me a little bit. Like,
hear me good. Hear me and hear me good. People should shut up.
This doesn't, nah.
But I get it.
Because if you're the NFL and you appealing, what now? If you give him more games, then he's gonna miss the Ravens game. He's gonna miss the Ravens game. So
it's kind of hard for me to entertain that theory. People should shut up. People should just shut up.
Hey, it's all good. I appreciate a conspiracy theory every once in a while.
No, not stupid ones.
Every once in a while, but this one. I
appreciate stupid ones though.
This one was just off the wall for me, without even knowing who they're playing. Like, I mean, let's be real. It's the NFL.
That's a stupid one.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's just a stupid one.
Like the Panthers could beat the Browns week 1. Like, I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not silly to think that. You know what I mean?
That's just a stupid one. It's just a stupid theory. That's a stupid conspiracy theory. And those people who crafted that one should shut up on that one.
Hey.
Keep it going. Keep trying though. Whoever it was, keep trying though.
That's the point of conspiracy theory. You got to keep trying until it hit. You know what I mean?
You should shut up on that one though.
You got to keep trying that.
Shut up on.
So let's go into the Dolphins. Let's talk about their mess. And so
how the hell did they get caught? That's the only question I really want to have.
How did they get caught?
How did they get caught so crazy that the NFL found nothing else is better to do? Mm-hmm. Like we got to get that ass for what they did. Cause look, we talked about it with the Knicks, and I know they under investigation right now.
Yep.
We talked about it with the Knicks. We know people pander. It happens all the time. If you think for a second that LeBron James and his team hasn't pandered their entire tampered. I'm sorry,
tampered.
Career. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know why I kept saying pander, but they haven't tampered his entire career since Miami. Like,
yeah, Rich Paul, Maverick Carter. Yeah,
it happens all over sports. People tamper.
Yeah,
it happens. My question is how was the Dolphins organization so dumb that they got caught, and they got caught so crazy that the NFL felt the need to suspend the owner and fine him?
Quite frankly,
how blatant?
Quite frankly, the owner should lose his franchise. That's where I'm at with it. With everything.
Tweet, but I saw that tweet, but bust that down.
Yeah. Okay. So just to kind of retract for a minute. So we know about the Brian Flores lawsuit against the league. We know about the language in those documents from Brian Flores. The offer of $100,000 to 10 games. That mystery quarterback that they met on the boat, which we found out was Tom Brady. This whole thing about tanking games, like everything in that lawsuit of Brian Flores has come to light with what the NFL has found out about the Dolphins talking to Tom Brady and talking to Sean Payton while you got a black coach on your roster coaching this team. Like, to me, like, that's more than just suspending the owner and fining him $1.5 million. Should take that team away from his ass. If you ask me, that's to bribe somebody to lose games. That's a huge penalty for me. I'm sorry. That's not enough. That's not enough that's not enough to warn other teams that, hey, if you get caught doing this, this is what it's going to be like. That isn't enough, because you and I know teams are still going to be doing this. You know what I mean?
Right.
The NBA, players tamper, teams, GMs, owners, they tamper all the time. Baseball, they do the same damn thing. They tamper, they do all this stuff. Like, the punishment is not enough to send a message to other organizations that if you keep doing this, this is what's going to happen. $1.5 million, that's a drop in the bucket for Stephen Ross. You know what I'm saying? And for him, it's a buck and the draft picks. I don't want to leave out that.
Yeah, and the draft picks.
They lost the first round pick for next year, and I think they lost another draft pick for the following year. I get that hurts the team, but does it really hurt Stephen Ross? I don't know that it hurts Stephen Ross as much as it hurts the team.
Well, Stephen Ross is the team. I mean, he owns the team, so I'm sure it affects them in maybe some way that we don't know about. I mean, look, man, that draft. I mean, we would never know. That draft pick, that first rounder, is could be the person that changes the franchise. Whatever that second pick is, could be the pick that changes the franchise. So, and you change the franchise with that pick, jersey sales go up, ticket sales go up. You know, like they're practical. Yeah, so I think it does affect Stephen Ross. 1.5 is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of business, but I don't. Look, I think for me, is it sound punished? I think if you're trying to set a statement, no, it's not sound punishment. If you're trying to make a statement,
right?
But let's be clear. I don't think they're trying to make a statement. They know what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the point? What's the point of knocking the Dolphins for this? Like, what's the point?
Conspiracy theory is that Stephen Ross and the organization are being extremely reckless in how they tamper. So now it's like, fuck your rule. What you gonna do? Put bitch ass nigga. That's what it's. Conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
Look.
But is it because of the Flores? But is it because of the Flores lawsuit?
I think it has nothing to do. I think it has nothing to do with Brian Flores. I think it solely has to do with how they are recklessly tampering with the likes of Tom Brady, who was the best quarterback in the league, and Sean Payton, who's a top 5, maybe top 5 coach in the league when he was playing, maybe top 10, arguably top 5, top 10 coach.
Right.
Stop. Like, if you're going to tamper with the likes of those types of figures in sports and in the NFL, please be better with how you're doing it.
So I guess it goes back to your question: how did they get caught?
I think they were being reckless, and that's what I'm saying. That's my point. I think they pow-powed them because they was being reckless. I think they was, like.
I guess my question is, how were they being reckless? I guess is my.
I don't
question.
know. I don't know how, because I don't even know the ins and outs of how tampering works.
Like, how does that information get out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
But that's why it leads to my point, because the average, not in the ins and outs of the league, we don't even know how it works. So for the league for Bleacher Report or whoever reports on it, if they're able to write a very informational piece on how they tampered, that means they got the information, which means the Dolphins organization was outside tampering. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So with them being able to, if Bleacher Report, the NFL, I think the NFL says this it's not written in the rule book, but I think the NFL says this.
Yep.
If you make me look bad outside, I gotta tap that ass for making me look bad outside. Why is Tom Brady on the boat in 2019 with why are you on a boat with the Dolphins organization? Who was the quarterback at the time?
It wasn't Tua. It was I forget. But whatever.
It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder who Brady was talking about when he said, "Oh, y'all choosing him over me?" Because now.
Oh, the episode of The Shop. I didn't see that episode, but I saw that clip of him saying that.
Right.
But I thought he was referencing another franchise. I didn't think he was referencing the Dolphins.
But now, I don't know that to be true. But I now do know that at least the Dolphins have knowingly been tampering with Tom and the likes of Tom Brady, trying to get him to come to Miami.
Okay.
So we know at least Miami is guilty of having a conversation, whether legal or illegal.
Right.
We know at least they've had a conversation on them. Okay. There was rumors that, because I remember the rumor was at one point Tannehill. The rumor was at one point Derek Carr. So we rumored that
Deshaun Watson.
maybe they talked. Right. We rumored that maybe they talked to those teams, but we know for a fact that they talked to the Miami Dolphins because the NFL is taxing that ass for talking to them.
Yeah, I understand the point that it has nothing to do with Brian Flores because obviously even Brian Flores said himself that not enough punishment was exercised in this situation, in this ruling. But from a fan's perspective, from my perspective on the outside looking in, the one evidence that I have of the Dolphins tampering is what Brian Flores put in the lawsuit that he put out. So that's why a few segments ago I kind of brought that into the fold. I do agree with you, it has nothing to do with Brian Flores, but in terms of the evidence from a fan perspective like myself, that's the evidence that I have of them tampering.
From the from the short article that I read, Brian Flores' name was not mentioned in an investigation of tampering. He wasn't mentioned in this.
And quite frankly, it shouldn't have been. Quite frankly,
right? That's why to me, my evidence of the Miami Dolphins tampering to get at players had nothing to do with Brian Flores. I don't think Brian. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Brian Flores. I think that they're gonna get. I think that they're getting taxed for this Tom Brady tampering, and then if Brian Flores proves some validity to his story, they're going to get taxed a second time. I think that could happen, but I don't think this situation has anything to do with Brian Flores. I don't know the relevance of it. I don't know how they tie in.
You don't know what in particular ties in the lawsuit
how the Brian Flores lawsuit and the tampering that they just got taxed for. I don't see how the two tie in where Brian Flores is disappointed. I don't know.
I think it ties in, and I think I know where you're getting at. So the tampering and the tanking are two different things, right? Like you can,
so they should be punished twice.
You can separate those two when you can punish them twice, once for the tampering, once for the tanking. I think the things in the lawsuit that Brian Flores put out to the league, I think those things in the NFL's investigation of the Dolphins doing the tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton, I think tie into it. It kind of goes back.
In the court, what specifically are you referring to when you say in Brian Flores' suit? What specifically are you talking about that you feel like ties into the tampering?
The tanking, the offering of $100,000 to tank games. The idea that the organization's goal was not to win games, but to look forward to the following year's draft.
How do you tie that? But how does that tie into?
Because it happened in the same season. It happened in the same season. The conversation with Brady, the conversations with Sean Payton, the offer of the money to tank games, that all happened in 2019. I think that was the season. Sure, all that happened in the year.
Sure, I agree. I get that. But I still don't think that tanking games is a whole different crime than tampering. I don't see how
it's different, but I think
I don't see how to.
I think the result. I think the result of the punishment of the Dolphins for tampering, I think, exposes some of what Brian Flores listed in his lawsuit to be found somewhat true. I think that's how I'm explaining it properly. Let
me just say I disagree. Then I don't see how them being found guilty for tampering exposes truth to anything Brian Flores reported in his lawsuit.
Okay.
I still think those are two separate.
No, they are. They are two separate things. It's just that they only punished the Dolphins for the tampering. I think and quite frankly, kind of going back to how I feel about them taking the team from Stephen Ross, I think that if the NFL did further investigation into that whole situation that happened that particular season, I think that it would have exposed more truth about what was in the lawsuit. I think it would do that, and then I think.
Okay, you're saying it would expose. I thought you said it did expose.
No, I'm saying that I'm saying it would, but
okay,
I get the but I also get the sense that, like, come on, like, if, and again, I'm just talking that one season, because all that stuff, the tampering, the idea to tank, that happened all in that same season. I just find it hard to believe that you're going to knock the Dolphins for tampering, which was found to be true, but you can't further investigate, like, the stuff that's in the lawsuit that happened in the same year. Like,
maybe they can.
Yeah,
but, maybe they can, but let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Flores is suing the NFL.
Sure.
He's not suing the Dolphins.
No, sure.
Why would the NFL go further investigate to prove Brian Flores right if he's suing them?
I mean, it's a good point. I mean,
yeah, he's suing the NFL. He's not suing the Dolphins.
No, sure. I get that. I get that part.
So,
it's
my
a
point
good
is
question.
that the NFL is not going to work for Brian Flores to prove him right, so they could pay him his punitive damages.
Sure, but.
So that's why it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Right. No, I get it. It's not going to happen. I just think I just think overall the punishment, just even on the tampering part, I think it's light. I don't think it's, and I get they're not trying to send a message, but it doesn't really send a message to anybody. It's just, we're just gonna suspend you.
Wasn't the point.
We're gonna protect you. Because you a billionaire owner and you got power, we gonna protect you. But
they work for them.
Yeah, right. So that's all. I just I don't know. I think that I personally think I would like to see that lawsuit just kind of play itself out a little more. That's just me.
Oh no, it's going to play itself out. It's just like I said. They're not going to further investigate to prove Brian Flores to be correct, because then they lose the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I got you. I'll ask you this question and then we'll move forward. In an environment where your goal is, we're looking forward to the draft, we don't care so much about winning, right? So even though there's not actual evidence that a team is tanking to lose games and to look forward to the draft, if you hired a coach one year, right, and you're already under that notion that this is a lost year, we're looking forward to the next draft, how are you then looking at other individuals to take this man's job? I'm not talking about Tom Brady. I'm talking about Sean Payton. Forget Tom Brady for a second. I'm just talking about Sean Payton.
Ask the question again.
Brian,
I'm not understanding the question.
Brian, if you're the Dolphins and you hire Brian Flores in the first year, and the goal is not to win games, but to quote unquote tank games, look forward to the draft or whatever, however you say that, right?
Okay.
You're talking to another head coach who at that point was still coaching the Saints, right? So you're talking to another coach with the intention to replace Brian Flores. That's the only reason you're talking to Sean Payton is to replace Brian Flores. Not that that's like, a crazy thing. Sean Payton's one of the greatest, coaches we've seen in the last 10 years.
Right.
But to do it under those circumstances while you still in the middle of a season where you already hired a first-year head coach and your goal is, we're not playing to win games or whatever. Like, to me, there has to be some kind of like idea, like, something's going on. This isn't just tampering. Like, they're looking.
No,
right. It's clear, right? Yeah, right.
It's clear to me what they were doing was they realized we don't have a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
But if you bring Sean Payton and Tom Brady to the team, that's a championship team. So until we can get Tom Brady and Sean Payton, let's just bring in some coach who, works
Right.
hard and
Right.
let's
Yep.
even pander by bringing in a black coach.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I mean, it was a stopgap hire.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that's what it was, and that's how it seems Brian Flores has been treated since he's been in the
Yep.
league, as just the black guy, even though it's been proven that he's a good coach and deserves to be
Yep.
in the conversation with at least right now, at least mid-tier coaches right
Yep.
now.
Mm-hmm.
They keep treating him like the token black nigga that we could bring him in and black people will be happy. Hey, he's a black dude.
Yep.
We'll be happy behind that, and we'll just let him build his I mean, we'll just let him see what he do. I mean, the goal was always, how do we get back into Super Bowl contention? That was the goal.
Sure.
So we know we can't just take Tom Brady right now. We know we can't take Sean Payton right now. So let's just do something right now. I'm sure Brian Flores wasn't that expensive. So
Sure.
bring somebody in.
Yep.
This year is a wash.
Yep.
Which is why they're saying tank games.
Yep.
So now, by 2020 or 2021, however you want to peg it, by then, we got the opportunity to get Sean Payton because we know he might be retiring. We got the opportunity to get Tom Brady on the team, and we got a high draft pick because we tanked the year.
Yep. So
that's a brilliant game plan.
So going back to the literature in the lawsuit, I think that scenario that you just read over, that you just said, is exactly what Brian Flores stated in his lawsuit. And I get it's not to the Dolphins, it's to the league. But
right.
I think the NFL's findings of that situation, I think leads to most of what Brian Flores has described in his lawsuit to the league. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I think that's where I kind of stand on it, is that it leads to that, despite the fact that it's two different things. So, can we talk about this Kyler Murray thing with the clause in the contract?
Oh man, I forgot about Kyler Murray.
Yeah, with the clause about him, studying film and all that.
Let's be clear. And first of all, congratulations.
Yes.
Deserved contract.
Yes.
All those things. They don't think he studies, or I'll be even more definitive about it, whatever their standard or quota of study is, he wasn't meeting it, and that's why the clause was put. That's why the clause was put there. Period. I get the stigmas about, that's bad for the black quarterback stigma and all those things are emphatically true. But as the Arizona Cardinals, you don't put that clause in there if you didn't mean it. Unless you put it in all quarterback contracts. Unless you put it in every quarterback contract.
Right.
You don't put that in there unless you see that it's a problem, like the Zion contract.
Yeah.
You see he has a problem with his weight, so you put a clause that incentivizes him to keep his weight right. You put a clause in his contract to incentivize him to study.
But I think more importantly, I think as an organization, you do your best to not you do your best to not make that public. And I get that, Kyler could have exposed that, right? Like Kyler could have just came out and been like, yeah, they put this clause in my contract, but
somebody in this team exposed it.
Right. If you're the organization, you got to find a way to do what's best to not let that kind of thing get out. You know what I mean? I know as a result they took it out. That's the end game to that. But as far
keep it a buck with you, Trey.
What?
Let me keep it a buck with you. If I put a clause in the contract that says I want him to study 4 hours a week, which by the way ain't shit. By the way,
yeah,
that ain't nothing. By the way,
yeah,
I'm not taking that motherfucker out. you kiss my ass. I'm not taking that out.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
first of all,
If you're the organization, if you're the organization, yep.
if I'm the organization
Mm-hmm.
for not near a quarter, it ain't no way in hell that I'm the organization who's been drafted him and who has been watching him play,
Mm-hmm.
watching him practice, watching him study, all those types of things. And I came to the conclusion when it was contract time that this was necessary to put in his contract. And again, unless it's in every quarterback contract, then that means this was specific to him.
Yep.
Which means they have intel on why this was specific to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why this need to be specific to him.
Right.
So just because you don't like that I put that in there, that don't got nothing to do with me, Slim. And you signed the contract. Let's be clear. You signed the contract with the clause in it.
Look, I don't blame him. And just so I'm clear.
Hold on. Let me stop you. Let me stop you for 2 seconds.
What up?
You don't blame him for signing the contract, even though he had a problem with the clause?
Because look how much money that contract was. You know.
Do you think he wasn't gonna get that money?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Let's speculate. Let's speculate in the realm of knowledge, though, Trey. Let's say you're Kyler Murray, and I'm the organization.
Yep.
And you are my franchise quarterback. Let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray, you are my franchise quarterback.
Yep.
There is no. I drafted you you are my franchise quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I slide your contract to the table, paying you the ample amount of money, and you read the clause. Mm-hmm. You don't think you would sign a clause without saying, "Hey man, I don't like this. Take it out."
No, I wouldn't sign a. No, I wouldn't. Let me backtrack here. Okay. I wouldn't. Me personally, if I saw that clause in that contract, I would stop and pause and talk to my agent and be like, "Yo, they got this, fine print in here. Like, yo, what's the deal? What's going on here? Like, I've never seen this before."
More important, you would be like, "Y'all wasn't shit before I came, and I am your franchise quarterback. Get this bullshit out my face. Stop disrespecting me."
Yeah, sure. Also, another thing of important to reference, this dude had an awful playoff game. And I get it. And I get it. I get it. Quarterbacks are going to get paid at some point. I get that point. But we're coming off an Arizona Cardinals season where the second half of the season down the stretch, he didn't play so well. Mm-hmm. And then when they got into that playoff game against the Rams, he played like garbage in that playoff game. And after that, after that garbage performance, there were stories about how he deleted the Cardinals pictures and stuff off his Instagram. There were rumors about that he was going to go back and play baseball. There was rumors about him possibly requesting a trade and all this stuff. And so you got all this stuff, right? All this stuff happened, and they sat you to the table and said, "Hey, we're going to give you $230 million with this clause." Now, here's why I say I don't blame him for signing it, is because of those things I just said. He didn't have a good second half of the year. He played like garbage in the playoff game. There were rumors, all offseason long about his future with the team. And then they turned
those rumors.
And then what's that?
He started those rumors.
Sure. But nonetheless, it was rumors. It became a big story around the league for most of the offseason, and then
because of him though,
and
that was a leverage play. He did that.
No, sure, I get that. I totally get that. But then they turn around and they say, "Hey, here's $230 million," and he saw the clause. I don't know what his reaction was to it, but the man signed it. And
do you think he don't study? Let me ask you a better question.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that let me ask you a better question than that.
Go ahead.
Do you think that he thinks he doesn't do the appropriate work to be successful on the football field?
I think that he thinks that he does what's necessary to, be successful as a quarterback in this league. I mean, they started out.
Do you think he thinks he deserves to be paid among the ilks of Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, those types of contracts. Deshaun Watson.
I think he thinks that.
Of course he.
I think he thinks
Of course
that.
he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
More importantly,
you have to, right?
Right, you have to, and more importantly, he knows that the Cardinals know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know what the market is. They saw what these quarterbacks just made, and Kyler Murray. If he was the worst of that pack, he was still a part of that pack.
Yeah.
So you got to at least meet him right there at that $230 mark.
Yeah.
And he's your franchise quarterback. You're not about to draft that again.
Mm-hmm. No, I got you. So let's paint this scenario. So let's say he doesn't sign the contract, right? Let's say he goes into this year again, coming off of a bad second half, coming off of a terrible playoff game, going into this coming season, and let's say, and because you got DeAndre Hopkins suspended for 6-7 games or whatever, let's say they just struggle, right? Like and it's mainly because Kyler Murray's sort of continuing these, the habits that we saw the second half of the year last year. Like, let's say he goes through that. If I'm the Cardinals and I see this this quarterback play and we're not successful and he's the reason why we're not successful, then at that point, if you're the organization, you're like, okay, we kind of got somewhat leverage here because
but you're in a hypothetical that I don't believe was ever going to happen to begin with. You saying
what, that they weren't gonna have a bad year, that they weren't gonna start off.
No. When he doesn't sign that contract and they ask him why, they're gonna take it off and then he's gonna sign the contract. You see how fast they took it off?
I know.
Behind some
but point is, which makes me like what was the whole point? Like it felt like this story was just this.
Exactly. So if I'm Kyler Murray, and that's why I'm saying this. That's my whole point. If I'm Kyler Murray and I go into the office and say. And I read my contract, and the money good, everything else good, but then I see this bullshit 4 hour a week clause. 4 hours a week, where most quarterbacks do that in the morning. I say to these guys, hey, what is this? What is this 4 hours? I only got to study 4 hours a week?
Right.
What is this?
So question for you. Hold
on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Hold on, let me finish. When I'm saying to the Cardinals, what is this? Oh, this is the little clause. Why you got this in my contract? They're gonna explain why they got this in my contract, and I'm gonna say, don't you? So are you implying that I don't study at least 4 hours a week? And they're gonna answer. If they say yes, I'm gonna say, all right, well, what the fuck you get this clause here? Get that shit off my fucking contract. That if they say no, I'm gonna say, well, if you feel that's how you feel about what I'm doing. Still, get that bullshit out my contract and don't disrespect me like I ain't the franchise quarterback. Let's be clear. The reason why we're in the playoffs this year, like love it or hate it, is majority. Even with the lackluster play in the second half of the season, is because of me. Me. Don't forget that game he played in Dallas in the second half. Because of me. It's because of me. So respect me that way. And I'm willing to bet, I am 98.7% sure that if he goes into the negotiating table and says that they take it off the clause and they take it off the contract and this ain't even a story.
So why do you think he signed the contract with the clause in it?
I think if you're asking me, I don't know to answer your question, but if you're asking me to come up with an answer on the fly, I don't think he read it. And I think once it was, I don't think he read the contract fully. And I think that once it was leaked, he went back and was like, oh shit, that shit is in my contract. Fix it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
If that happened, because if that happened,
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I think that happened.
Okay.
Because let's say, because I don't think outside looking in, I do not think that athletes from top to bottom read their contracts.
That's why you got agents. That's why you got agents.
Exactly. I mean, it's a very practical thing. When you get a cell phone, you don't read the entire fucking contract.
Sure.
They tell you the highlight points, and then If you come across a problem, they can always reference, well, it's in your contract. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So the agent probably read this contract, looked at that 4 hour a week clause, and realized, hey, all quarterbacks do 4 hours a week of study. This is no big deal. And didn't even mention it to Kyler Murray because that's not even a big deal until it's only a big deal when it gets leaked out into the public.
Yeah.
And then people got it.
And then they bring up your playoff performance. And when they bring that up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would you disrespect me and put that in that clause, put that clause in my contract? And then when it gets out, and of course the Cardinals don't know if it's going to get out or not, but if it does get out, now we got to have these conversations, and now people got to be putting this negative stigma on me like I don't put in work in the film room or in the study hall.
Yep.
That I don't do what I got to do. So now you got to take it out. You got to correct that. But that's how I think it happened. I think he didn't read that, and the agent didn't mention it to him, and then it got leaked, and then they said that's a problem. You're making this. As the franchise quarterback, you're putting negative press on my name. You need to fix this.
This makes the Cardinals look bad, and if what you're saying is the case, that the agent read it and kind of was like, oh, this is no big deal. I don't know if the agent would say, "Oh, we've seen these kinds of clauses before," because I've certainly never, not that I'm in these rooms or anything like that, but yeah. I've never heard of such a clause in a quarterback's contract before. This is all new to me. So if that's the case, and the agent read this thing and thought, "Oh, this is all good," then Kyler Murray, bro, you might have to find another agent, bro, because
I don't even know. You know what?
What's up?
I don't even really blame the agent, and I don't want to make this conversation too much longer, but I don't even blame the agent because an agent knows that a quarterback puts in 4 hours in a day in a morning. Let's say that's variable. We obviously doing speculation.
Yeah.
Let's say that the agent did mention the 4 hour clause. I don't think Kyler Murray had a problem with it then.
Right.
I think even let's say he did, let's say I'm going to theorize how the conversation went. Hey, there's a 4 hour clause. There's a clause in here that says you got to study 4 hours a week. I wouldn't worry about that. I'm imagining the agent says, I'm not worrying. I wouldn't. If I were you, I would not worry about that 4 hour clause because we know how much you put in the study room in a day.
Right.
So this is not a big deal. It only became a big deal when it was leaked that was a clause in the contract, because now people like us and Skip and First Take and NFL Network and Bleach, everybody gets to form an opinion about why the Cardinals would do that to Kyler Murray.
Yeah, when we've never seen that before. This is a public speculation thing. I don't want that stigma on me. I don't want to be at a football, playing my game, and the broadcaster telling, Tony Romo was telling my fans, oh yeah, he don't study, so that's why they put the clause in there type thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I don't want that I don't want that to be a conversation on my name. So take it off now. Fix it.
Yeah. The whole thing for me, and I'll put this conversation to bed. For me, I thought it was really hoopla over really nothing. Like this didn't have to get to this point. I guess is my point.
It didn't, but it's not in this grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal until your scenario plays out.
Right. And for the record, for me, as far as him doing film study, I don't think Kyler Murray has issues with film study, skipping out on that stuff either. That's a totally separate conversation.
You know what?
What up?
I'm not gonna say I don't think so, because like I said, they put it in the contract for a reason. Unless that's a standard NFL contract, then they put that in there for him for a reason.
Yeah, and it could just be maybe as much as Kyler's putting work into it. Maybe the Cardinal standard is, hey, we just need you to take it up a few more notches. Maybe that's it.
Well, then you put more than 4 hours a week if you want him to take it up. That's not enough if you want him to take it up, though.
Right. Well,
so yeah, If either the contract is standard, or they feel like either that clause is a standard clause in contracts, or they don't think he studies enough.
Yeah,
it's one of the two in my book.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, shout out to the wide receivers, man. More of these guys getting money, man. Deebo Samuel finally got his bread. DK Metcalf got an extension as well. So, happy for those guys. Much deserved for both of those guys. I'm curious who's next, right? Like who's gonna be the next dude to, cash in at the wide receiver spot. I'm thinking it's Justin Jefferson is gonna be that next dude.
Yeah. Nobody comes to mind right away. But
Second year, right? Justin Jefferson's starting his third year, right?
Going into his third year.
Third year. Yeah. I think he's gonna be the next guy to get his bread. But this has been one crazy offseason for wide receivers getting their money, and it's so weird because it started with Christian Kirk getting that money from Jacksonville. And then everybody just
Deontay Johnson is in talks. They trying to get him taken care of before he have a crazy season, and then they really got to pay him or lose.
So what you think that contract gonna look like if Pittsburgh gives it to him?
If it would be wise for them to get it done now, but it's not gonna be like top money. It's gonna be what's Devontae Adams making a year? Like 28, 30, something like that?
27, I think. 27?
Okay,
yeah.
So Deontay would be down 19, 20, 19, 20, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna be nothing crazy. But it would be good to lock him up now, especially because if he has the type of season that he could possibly have, the value gonna go up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So they need to lock him in. They need to lock him in. He's the number one. He's their number one receiver. They need to lock him in.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. And he might ball out, which I don't want to happen. But if he does, then the Steelers, they got a decision to make. If he overexceeds expectations, then the Steelers got a decision to make.
Right. Hell, if he holds pat, he had a good season last year. It wasn't a top 10 season, but he had a solid top 15, maybe top 20 if you want to go there. But he had a decent season. He had a good season. So if he somehow eclipses that or just stays pat, he could probably push that to $25 million.
Right.
So
right.
You just gotta try to lock them in while the price is low. That's always the thing.
That's always the thing, right? Yeah. Hey, what's this thing you got about Jimmy Butler? Is this about his hair?
Oh, it's just about his hair.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal.
Because I'm like,
the
Jimmy
realization
Butler.
is, the realization that I had to come to with this, man, is people are rich. People are rich. People are bored. And if that's what you want, in this world where you can kind of, make yourself the avatar that you want to be in this world, I'm not hating. I don't know. You know where we come from. Dudes wearing extensions in our, era. Nah, we don't. So I think that was my first thing. And again, this ain't me hating. Hey, brother. And for what it's worth, they look nice. So if that's what you want to do, and they look nice, who am I to hate? I just it definitely just threw me off. Like, like you went crazy. You went crazy. Like we saw your hair in the playoffs last year, bro. Like. That, like I don't know.
It's clear. It's clear that it's extensions.
Well, and it's not even like he tried to hide it. He did a video for it, so it's not like he tried to hide it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just kind of wonder what made him do it. I guess that's what it is for me, man. What made him do it?
Money, and I could do whatever the hell I want because I'm Jimmy Butler. I got money, and I already got hair.
It makes me.
I don't
he
know.
already a dog. it don't take away from his dog in reality, but in perception, watching him get his hair done on Instagram takes away from his dog a little bit. Just in perception.
And I don't know where he spends his off seasons, but if he spends his off seasons down in South Beach and you got all that hair, I feel for you, bro. That's a lot. That's a lot of heat.
What he did? You saw what he did. He pinned it up with the fade on it. So I mean, it's not on his head. It's not on his neck at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I think the picture I saw was with them down. I think the picture that I saw was with it down. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. You can always just put it up. That's that like dreads and
that's true.
Like I don't have my hair like that, but a lot of what they doing there was fading it right there, so they can pin it up type thing. So,
right. Right.
I'm old school. I'm old school in that. I thought about like maybe so I could do a decent shape up, but I don't know about all the cut, the fade, and the whole. I don't know about all that. I don't know if
like Daz Effects used to do back in the day. I think they used to have a cut. Used to have a fade and stuff.
No, a lot of people do that.
I know.
I don't know if it's my thing.
I know.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know if it's my thing.
But that's the first group I think about that had their hair like that, fade and just had the the dreads up and stuff.
Fushnikins, like
Fushnikins, yep.
Most of them cats in the 90s. Did the fade with the dreads,
yeah, no doubt. Hey, I had a chance to, and I'm gonna watch the entire thing. Have you been hip to NYC Point Guards, the special that's on Showtime? Okay.
I heard of it, but I haven't.
Okay.
Man, I ain't even gonna hold you. I have not been watching TV.
Okay. I knew you was gonna say that. Just in the whole grand scheme of watching television, I knew you were gonna say that. So I won't give it away, but I'll be honest, I only caught about 30 minutes of it, and it was really like the middle 30 minutes of it. I didn't really have time to kind of go back, watch the first 30 minutes, or even watch the ending of it. But there's just a few things that, aside from the basketball portion of it, like there's a hip hop element to this that kind of was a reminder for me watching it. So, but I'm not gonna give it away. I don't know if your intention is to watch it or if you're interested.
Maybe. No, it's not. Trust me, it's never that I'm like and one. Of course, I'm interested.
Right.
It just be
the time. I know. You promoting the album. You got music going on and all that stuff. Yeah. I get it. I get it. I guess I got too much. Well, I don't have too much time on my hands. I was on vacation. I was on vacation and I just so happened. I said, "Oh snap! I heard about NYC Point Guards. Let me go check it out." And I just hadn't got a chance to finish it. So, but I've been catching up on some stuff. There was the 3-part Supreme Team documentary, which was interesting. Also, some of it, which I knew already, other stuff that I didn't know about. I actually told my mother to watch it because that was her era, coming up in the city and stuff. So it was interesting to talk to her about it and everything. So. Been catching up on some things. I'm actually looking forward to also the Murder Inc. documentary. I think that's a 5-part documentary that I think premieres next week. I think so. I'm interested to see that, and your boy Irv, on Drink Champs talking like he missed Ashanti and stuff. So
yeah, hey, more power to him.
Yeah. Shout out to the Facebook live chat. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube and Twitter. You good, right? You ain't got nothing else, right?
Yeah. You know me. I'm on time.
No doubt.
Restraints.
No doubt. Shout out to everybody listening. Make sure y'all catch this on demand on wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you continue to follow us on social media. The Facebook page, click the like button, the YouTube channels, hit subscribe. We're on Twitter at BarbershopSPOR2. You can also find us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. And then if you got questions or comments about the show, just hit us up on email. The email is barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. Again, man, happy to be back, brother. And
yes, sir.
Looking forward to this month, and really looking forward to the NFL season too, man. Got some special things coming up, so
I gotta start locking in, man. Like I gotta set up our draft joint. You know, we just joined another draft situation. I gotta lock in. I gotta lock in because I'm trying to get some wins this year.
Yeah. Shout out to Jelani for that invite, man.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Sure.
All right, fam. That's it. We'll holler at y'all next week. Y'all have a good week, and we'll be back giving you some of that more content. All right, fam. Peace.
Love.
Recording stopped.